Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We are excited for you all to join and in what will hopefully be an engaging discussion. The cybersecurity landscape is changing. This is even more difficult when cybersecurity is mandated or reviewed at the board level. Executives are forced to make trade-offs and hard decisions. And that's the subject of our discussion today. Just a little bit of housekeeping items here. If you do have any questions, please feel free to submit them at any time, and then we'll answer them at the Q&A session at the very end. Really, we're here to tell a story. This is the story of an organization that needed to become more secure because their management and their board of directors, or in this case, their board of trustees, requested it. They requested more security, more cybersecurity diligence than they had previously. This responsibility for identifying a solution fell on the shoulders of a CIO and our featured guest today, Ian Turnbull. Specifically, how do you become more secure, but without necessarily more means, more people, more time, more products, more resources? By the end of that story, you should have an idea of how you might meet security requirements and directives, while at the same time possibly even save money while doing this. Our agenda today will include a facilitated discussion of First Capital REIT's CIO, Ian Turnbull, and his mission to improve, together with his team, his company's cybersecurity posture and the process that they followed. We are also going to hear from Matt Eyman, Managing Director of 3Quotes and First Capital REIT's business partner, about his firm's involvement in both this particular case, but also in general. We'll also describe the resulting service chosen by Ian and his team and why, a service called MDR, or Managed Detection and Response, and why the business case for it made a decision even easier for the evaluation committee. Finally, we'll be happy to answer any questions from the audience, as well as provide some resources at the very end. To get started here, Ian, if we can kind of turn to you and have you provide just a brief overview about yourself, experience, but also an overview of First Capital REIT as well.
Sure. Hi, Effi, and thank you for having me. My name is Ian Turnbull. I'm the Chief Information Officer at First Capital REIT. First Capital is a publicly traded real estate investment trust, and we are one of Canada's leading owners, operators, and developers of mixed-use real estate in the country's largest and most densely populated cities. I joined First Capital about 6 years ago after spending 27 years plus at Brookfield Asset Management and its subsidiaries. Almost my entire career, I hate to say it, but 40 plus years has been spent in commercial real estate. And I have been, really singularly focused on the information technology space for the last 25 or so years. So we're a small IT team at First Capital. We only have 10 people now, and we rely a lot on partners to do the heavy lifting, the heavy technology lifting for us, because our focus as an IT team is on the business and business processes, and less on the direct deep technology things like servers and networking, what have you. So that's where we come from.
Got it. Thank you for that. Matt, can you have a quick overview about yourself, background, and specifically 3Quotes and what you guys do?
Absolutely. Thank you, Effi, and thank you everybody for joining today as well. As Effi said, my name is Matt Eyman. I'm the Managing Director here at 3Quotes. A little bit of background on myself. I've been involved in the IT channel in North America for about over a decade now, mainly on the reseller side of the fence, both in a sales capacity, but also sales management. So who essentially is 3Quotes? In a nutshell, 3Quotes is an IT procurement consulting firm that focuses on optimizing our clients' IT-related OpEx and CapEx at zero risk to their business. I would say our core three benefits that we offer our clients is we help them save time, we help them save money, we help them save their internal resources as well. I'd say also it's our mission to align our clients with the right solution with the right solution provider, all at the right price. And that's exactly what we did for the team at FCR and Axero.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We'll dive a little bit deeper and dig deeper into that story shortly. To provide a little bit of context, my name is Effi Lipsman. I am the head of sales for Axero. Have been in cybersecurity my entire career, cybersecurity vet with various stints with sales and management and business development positions, including both startups and very large organizations. Currently, as mentioned, head of sales for Axero. Axero is a cybersecurity vendor that seeks to combine artificial intelligence, machine learning together at the intersection really of technology and the human element of human cybersecurity specialists in order to provide a service to small, medium-sized companies and enterprises in order to elevate their cybersecurity posture without necessarily purchasing expensive software, hardware, and managing it themselves. So between the three of us, we're going to kind of continue this story. But to kind of get started, maybe Ian, I'll turn to you. If you can start us off, where did your security improvement directive come from? What were you hoping to achieve, and what really initiated it?
Yeah, hi. Well, so it was really driven by our board of trustees. You know, we have a very active board. They are not only are they board members at First Capital, but often they are board members at much larger enterprises, and they have a lot of exposure to other larger companies and the cybersecurity risks that those companies experience, and so they bring that to the table at our board meetings, and so even though we're a small entity, the board was very focused on our cybersecurity status and spotlight position. So in addition, we're a publicly traded entity, and so we are subject to the usual regulatory compliance audit requirements of any public entity, and so those were the real drivers here. Not that we are not always concerned as an IT organization about cybersecurity. We of course are, but we are a small to medium-sized business. Again, as I've said, only 10 people in our IT team. We are operating under a limited budget, limited number of resources. So it's a very difficult line for us to walk. There are a lot of things we'd love to do if we could, but we
those are
so much money to go around. Yeah,
those are the trade-offs that I talk about. So
right.
In instance, the board of trustees says, Ian, elevate your cybersecurity posture. Make sure that we feel more secure, while at the same time you need to adhere to all these compliant requirements by virtue of being a public company. Where do you even start? Is it do you start with here's my budget and how much security can I cram in there, or is it what am I trying to secure and let's see what I can afford to do?
Yeah.
Trade-offs.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, it's a little bit of both, right? So we did our best to sort of survey the landscape. As I joke, I mean, like every other CIO, I probably get 400 cybersecurity emails a day and invitations to cybersecurity conferences, and it is. It becomes overwhelming, and I don't have the resources internally to, with the expertise in the cybersecurity space to really help, separate the wheat from the chaff. So, that's kind of when we turn to an organization like Three Quotes, because they're out there in the market. They have done other, similar kinds of searches for other organizations. Even larger organizations than ours. So they know the landscape, they know the players. And, I think equally important from our perspective is they know the market. I mean, it is also difficult. Like, not only can I not necessarily, really sort of sort out, what is the the best technology for us, trying to make sure that I also figure out, am I paying the right amount for that technology? I mean, I go to market for these sort of things once every 3 years or so, or 4 years. I can run an RFP, but do I know that I'm really paying, I'm getting the best possible price for that and getting the right value for that equation? So those are two sides, right? That the market side and the technical side, and those are areas where we've turned to 3 quotes to help provide that assistance for us.
In this case, Matt, do organizations come to 3 quotes knowing what it is that they want or need, or do they come to you, to your organization with, here's what we're trying to achieve, what do you see out there? What type of processes do you run?
It can come in both facets, Effie. We had some clients come to us and say, we have no idea where to start. Please help us. Here's roughly what we're trying to achieve. Here's our current state. Here's our future state. And what we'll do is bring in our subject matter experts and our CTOs here in North America to assist clients with building out what those requirements should be. But what we also do is, as Ian said, go to market and find the right partners to bring to the table. For example, for a company of FCR size, we wouldn't bring a Dell SecureWorks or an HCL to the table because it's just overkill for what they were looking to do. So essentially, at the end of the day, it's our technical resources working with our clients to determine what those requirements are, and then we align them with our partner network.
That makes sense. Thank you. Ian, you talked about separating the wheat from the chaff. There is a lot of noise coming in the market from all of these tools, software, hardware, services providers out there talking, especially in cybersecurity, endpoints, SIEMs, data loss prevention, and cloud security. Where do you even start about, when it comes to an organization like yours, you have to secure anything and everything while remaining compliant, and you don't have unlimited budgets. How do you even start coming up with the requirements? Do you have experience in-house? Is there a CISO team? What kind of assistance do you get?
Yeah, well, we do the best we can. Again, we ultimately we turn to an organization like 3 quotes to bring us the deep expertise. But at the same time, we do have an overall responsibility for, basically, understanding our environment and knowing, the kinds of things that we think we need to bring to the table. So, in our case, we knew we didn't really have a security operations center and, couldn't really afford to build that out ourselves. But we needed that real-time network monitoring. We needed real-time device monitoring. I mean, we had, the standard sort of Symantec, McAfee, antivirus, anti-malware type things on our devices, but that wasn't really giving us sort of the insights that we wanted, or our auditors and boards were looking for. We knew we needed regular vulnerability assessments, and we have multiple service providers depending upon the technology area that those service providers have their expertise. So we have, and we're also expanding into, in our case, the Microsoft Azure cloud. So we have multiple platforms, and we wanted a consistent security framework across all of those platforms. And last but not least, we don't have a CISO and can't afford one at our level, and B, really, I think for the size of the business, a really strong CISO would be, bored after a month and leave, right? So, but we need that kind of security advisory sort of capability, right? We needed someone to be able to help us assess our environment and build us a roadmap that we could follow, that we could demonstrate to both our board and the auditors that we're actually, month after month, year after year, improving our security posture, right? And we're well aware of the risks that we were facing and the challenges. So
I can only assume that your board of trustees does not get into the weeds of the technical aspects, but how do you report up to them on a quarterly basis, monthly basis? How do they monitor the cybersecurity growth of First Capital?
Yeah, and that's a good question. And yes, absolutely, we report every quarter into the audit committee, and that's another area where we were challenged. Is we were trying to pull information from multiple sources. Again, we have multiple vendors, and so each of them would run their own little areas independently, and we would have to sort of try to gather all of that and bring it into a consistent format. So we're really looking for a single vendor solution that could span our entire platform, regardless of who the underlying sort of partner was, and give us that a single presentation with all that data consolidated in one place that we could report to the board in a consistent fashion, quarter over quarter, so that they could see the progress, and we could again follow up with this vendor on any questions the board might have about the data that they were seeing. So
no, thank you. Matt, you've talked a little bit about your engagement process, the fact that it could be transactional or it could be from pre-planning and just solution oriented. Can we dig deeper a little bit about kind of what does 3 quotes do? How do you engage? What are the benefits to your clients?
Absolutely. I would say our company falls into 2 different umbrellas. One would be our advisory services arm, which generally is our RFX services model, which you see on the slide right now. And this is generally where we get involved on a pre-planning perspective. So customer First Capital comes to 3 quotes and says, Matt, we need to improve our security posture in 2020. We need your help. So what we do is we go away, we collaborate with the FCR team, with our team, our technical resources. We put together a strategy and a plan. From there, obviously, we've been dealing with FCR for a number of years now. So what we would do is put together a RFP plan. So we bring in a professional RFP writer, we bring in a project manager, we do contract negotiations on behalf of FCR. In this case, I believe Ian brought 1 partner to the table and 3 quotes brought 2 other partners to the table. We ran a formal RFP process. 3 quotes will provide recommendations back to the client. Obviously, Ian and his team make the final call on who they want to move ahead with. So that's the advisory side of the business. On the transactional side, I would say it's where clients already know what they want, essentially. They've done their due diligence. They've already shortlisted vendors to 1 or 2. And they really come back to 3 quotes and say, hey, 3 quotes, we've run the ball from the 0-yard line to the 90-yard line. We're going to lateral it to you. And please go score us a touchdown. In terms of that final negotiation, as Ian said, that's the value that we bring to the table. Is we know the market. We got our finger on the pulse on the market. We know what services should cost using our data benchmarking services and also our negotiation services. And then at the end of the day, we take it a step further and we actually look at legal contracts on behalf of our customers to ensure that they're getting the right best commercial terms for the agreement that they're about to enter into.
Understood. Thank you. Obviously, ultimately, a decision of what to choose and what an organization chooses comes down to a lot more than just the lowest price. To what degree do you engage with, in this case, FCR and technical team on advising on technical merits, differentiation, which solution might be more appropriate above and beyond just let me get you the best price possible?
I would definitely say it's our subject matter experts that we would bring into the equation, and they were involved throughout the RFP process, and they were involved with the FCR RFP. And again, as Ian said, he doesn't have access to those particular personnel, and those are the people that we bring to the table that help assist and guide Ian and his team to make that right decision on who to choose as a vendor moving forward.
That makes sense. Continuing along the same thread of this story and for our audience, And for context, here's where Act Zero got involved. In this case, the business case was already created. It was about seeing whether Act Zero might be the right fit. And one of the challenges that newer technology firms face, like startups, is that you can't really rely on its brand and reputation out there to sell its service. It also means that when we engage with potential customers, they typically ask us to work with them on the business case in order to justify the expenditure. And there are multiple facets to this. Cybersecurity is just one aspect. Organizations that seek to increase their cybersecurity posture, get broader coverage that maybe extend beyond endpoints and network and into the cloud as well. Other organizations want to factor in compliance work as well. Whereas whenever you're talking about a business case, there's also the element of cost savings here. But cost savings doesn't necessarily just mean lowest price. The problem is that business case is not just about the price, but there are other elements that need to be factored in here, including opportunity cost. What would the cost of doing nothing be? Could you stand to wait 6 months, 12 months with this purchasing decision as well? Ian, were those ever a factor? I can only assume when the board of trustees says, thou shall improve security, you quickly go and scramble to find a security solution. But had you considered maybe pushing back and saying, the time is not right, here's where we could be 6 months from now, 12 months from now?
Yeah, I mean, and we do within the reason that you can to the board of trustees, of course. But we absolutely position. It's a critical thing when you're doing sort of a security assessment is to really evaluate your risk profile, because it's not just your security posture; it's also your risk profile. So, in the case of First Capital REIT, we're a commercial real estate trust. We have a limited amount of sort of personally identifiable information. We don't have credit card data, for example. So there was absolutely an argument that our risk profile is relatively low compared to some of the businesses that they maybe sit on some of the other boards that they sit on. At the same time, when we were having these discussions was a time when ransomware was in the news all over the place, and many municipalities, which in some respects are not that dissimilar to us in terms of size, were had their entire systems shut down and locked out for weeks on end, and so you're balancing that argument that look, we're relatively low risk against what's clearly in the news every day, and they're hearing from other board meetings that cybersecurity risk is going through the roof. So it's another tough balancing act, but absolutely, you don't want to over-engineer your solution. You want to find a solution that matches your risk profile.
And when you use the word solution, I mean, this is a solution to a business problem. You're mandated to fix a business problem. You care a little bit less about what the logo is or what the vendor is. You're just trying to find the best service, the best solution to a business problem.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I would say, certainly in our industry, I don't think that the board was particularly, it didn't need to be. I don't know, a bank type security solution, right? That they would recognize from sitting on a bank board, for example. I mean, they absolutely understand that the size of FCR, the resources that we have available, the risk profile that we have, and so their concern really was more to make sure that we had something in place. They leave it up to us to decide what that something is. They're not going to be that prescriptive, but at the same time, the board in our case is knowledgeable enough to certainly know the specific areas where they thought we should focus, right?
Sure.
Which sort of goes back to that list of things that we were looking for. We knew that that's what we needed in order to satisfy the board's sort of concerns, right?
How do you get your again smaller IT team involved in the evaluation process? Because they still have a plane to fly, and here they have yet another business objective they need to adhere to with another tool, another service as well. How do you get them involved?
Well, absolutely. So my senior team was definitely part of the RFP process, and sat and had regular conversation with Matt and his teams and his subject matter experts around the various solutions that we were looking at. Both the strengths of the technology, the strengths of the companies. Those were all part and parcel of our process, but to your point, ultimately, we also needed to look for something that did not require us to have a high degree of direct management on the back end, right? When we selected a solution, we weren't going to be able to hire 20 people to analyze the results from that SIM or whatever, ourselves identify the issues, the risk. We just didn't have the bandwidth to do that. So we were absolutely looking for a security service as opposed to just a security technology.
Right. My final question to you, Ian, is how often, or at all maybe, do you go back and revisit the decisions that you've made to know, yes, we are yielding the value that we thought we would from this service, or this was a decision that maybe wasn't as great, we might revisit our purpose here? How do you continuously improve on your decision-making process?
Yeah, no, I mean, we absolutely will go back. It does take you need to leave some runtime. You need to let the technology and the service sort of prove itself and assess it for a period of time, right? We don't do knee-jerk kind of reactions, but absolutely, we in our discussions with both our internal audit, the board of trustees, and our auditors, we we'll get a sense, is this delivering the value that right. we expected? Are you getting the data that you need that helps you feel that IT has got, a real handle on our security posture, or, that we're mitigating our cybersecurity risks appropriately, that we've got, a roadmap to, continuously improve our security posture. So, and that is an ongoing process, particularly in this type of environment, because it's a quarterly session, and if we're not getting where we need, then absolutely we'd be back looking for a solution.
Matt, you've been involved in numerous procurement initiatives and engagements. What are some common pitfalls that organizations do when they go and procure a product or service?
That's a great question, Effi, because I could probably answer it with about 40 different answers, but the one that comes to mind the most, and we've been hearing it a lot lately, is clients just don't have the time to put into every single transaction or every single contract that they're about to enter into. So I'd say it's more of a due diligence issue, where again, clients can offload that or alleviate that by bringing in a company like 3Quotes to augment that. So I'd say the major pitfall, again, Effie, what we're seeing right now is just people just don't have time to look at every single transaction that's going in and out. It's just too much, and it's overbearing. And in this day and age, a lot of people are wearing many different hats.
Makes sense. Thank you. To kind of recap what we have discussed today, but also to provide some resources to the audiences. And by the way, all resources are available under the attachment tab on your screen. But we do have a number of resources available, including a blog article about what technologies that you might want to sunset if you do have some budget constraints. But for those that aren't necessarily sure even where to start, especially from a cybersecurity perspective. We have a white paper that explains just how to assess your current position. In it, we describe Act Zero's maturity model assessment. This is a free self-assessment that provides some actionable advice on how you might want to elevate your cybersecurity posture while adhering to various security controls and compliance frameworks, no matter your industry. Also, it includes methods that you can use to kind of validate what your security efficiency and the efficacy of your security program is on your own. For those that might be planning an RFP or even would like to discuss how to best procure, Matt, maybe you can describe 3Quote's offering as a POC or any other offers that you have.
Absolutely. As Effi said, if you're planning a strategic project for 2021, 2022, we'd be more than happy to jump on a call with you to discuss your requirements, to see where we can align and help your organization. Or on the flip side, if you do have a transactional quote, it could be a software, hardware, professional, or managed services contract that you're 99% sure you want to sign, but you just want a third party to vet it for you. We're more than happy to do that on a free POC basis.
Great, thank you. So thanks for that. And then finally, for those that would like to learn more about Act Zero's MDR service, the Managed Detection and Response Service, a service that sits at the intersection of technology and human cybersecurity specialists aided by artificial intelligence and machine learning, please check out our website at actzero.ai. With that, Ian Turnbull, Matt Eyman, thank you very much for attending today. Thank you to our audience. And let's see if there are any questions from the audience. And there are a handful of them. Specifically, Ian, question for you. Did you have a particular solution in mind with this initiative began? I know that you talked about requirements. You had some vendors already in-house. Obviously, as a CIO, you're well aware of what's out there in the market. But did you have a specific vendor in mind when you started this?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we obviously, again, are inundated with emails and information at various conferences. And, you know, we have looked at some of the big technologies out there. CrowdStrike was one. I'm going to have an old man brain cramp here, and some of the others. But there were absolutely technologies that are very high profile technologies out there in the cybersecurity space. We were looking at a variety of SIM systems, for example. But you know, at the end of the day, we couldn't pick this off technology by technology. We needed an all-encompassing solution and service. Because otherwise I was, building up a security team to manage all the security technology that we would have to put in place if we looked at it from that perspective. So, sure.
Thanks for that. Matt, there's only just one question for you. Even though the subject today was cybersecurity, what are other elements is that only IT? Like, what are other elements other than cybersecurity that you're involved in?
So generally, I would say it's anything tier 1, tier 2 hardware, software contracts if you're acquiring those particular technologies. I would say a big uplift in our business over the last 2 years has been our ITAM offering, our IT Asset Managed offering. And that's where clients will just solely outsource all of their maintenance renewals through 3Quotes. I would say that's a big influx in the business. Being more specific, I'd say negotiating Microsoft EAs, ERP contracts, managed print services contracts, anything that we call kind of strategic IT, we can assist.
Okay, thank you. One question, Ian, you talked about not having a dedicated full-time CISO. What was missing that a CISO would have done for you at the time?
Well, I mean, I think if we had a CISO, we might have been able to, no offense, Matt, might have been able to run this more directly, although I still would have reached out to Matt for the market intelligence, but at least we would have had the in-house technical expertise. But and for us, it really is about having that resource who can continually look at our cybersecurity footprint and say, yeah, here's a weakness. Here's an area for improvement, something you should be looking at. Put this on the roadmap, right? Helping us evaluate new technologies and things as they come along, right? So without that, we rely on organizations like Matt to advise at the time of the transaction. But again, I think one of the things that we really did like about the Act Zero solution, I don't mean to plug Act Zero too much here, but was the vCISO component of it. It gave us access to a very skilled resource who was able to give us, walk us through an overall evaluation of our security posture, identify, really help us build out a roadmap, which we have shared with the Board of Trustees. And that, gives both the Board of Trustees and honestly, me personally, confidence that, that we're mitigating our risks, that we are, and that we have, a roadmap to continue to improve over time. And so, to me, that was invaluable, and it's an ongoing relationship that we can then, turn to when we're implementing new technology and making sure that it's, that we've appropriately addressed the security concerns around those technologies, help us evaluate the security of software as a service solutions, for example, making sure we've got the appropriate security language in our contracts. So all, that has been a huge benefit to us, and it's something that we, as a small, medium business, could never really afford to have a full-time CISO on board. So
thank you for that. There is a question here from the audience. I suppose it will be for Matt, but Ian can chime in if he ever faced this. Matt, what if you're in the middle of a contract but needs to pivot your solution to maybe a different provider? What can you do?
That is a great question. We actually have a service offering around that. It's our legacy contract optimization service. And it's exactly what this particular person is asking for. It's where you're, say, halfway through a 3-year agreement, you're seeing the invoices roll in, but you're not seeing the value. What we've been known to do using, again, our subject matter experts is break contracts midway through and either get money back from that particular organization based on the contract that they signed, or renegotiate the terms of that agreement with that particular party to get them better contract terms, better SLAs, and pretty much plug the hole of the problem. So essentially, we have been known to break contracts with organizations like SAP, Xerox, not so much with Microsoft, but some of the other tier 1, tier 2 vendors.
Thank you for that. Ian, ever faced a situation like that?
More than once in my career. Absolutely. But not since I've had the relationship with Matt, though, and I wish I'd had it earlier.
That'd probably also be the bad guy.
Yeah, because there were, we all get stuck into contracts from time to time that we wish we weren't.
Understood. There are no other questions here. I would like to again remind the audience of some of the resources here. Specifically, they're available, whether it's content on sunsetting technologies, or not even knowing where to start from a security standpoint, or if you're planning an RFP, to reach out to 3 quotes here. And then finally, if cybersecurity is top of mind, please check out our website at actzero.ai. With that, Ian and Matt, thank you for attending today. Thank you for expertise. Thank you.
Thank you, Effi.
Yeah, thanks very much, Effi.
Okay.